Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
Doing great. How about you, Eric?
Doing fantastic. We seem to have skipped over fall here in New England, and we're headed into winter already.
Well, maybe next week will be spring.
Maybe. We went from 80 degrees to 20 degrees in about a week and a half. So
It's
we
not the
will
first
see
time
how
it's
the
happened
rest
here, though.
yeah, we will see how the rest of the season treats us.
Yeah, I hope it's nice next Wednesday night for the trick or treaters.
Absolutely.
So,
So last week we talked about setting goals. Today we're going to follow up with this by talking about putting together your personal growth plan. And like a business plan, for your personal growth, you really do need to figure out what it is you're going to do and how to get there. Now, unlike a business plan, which is specific to a business, there are a lot of different aspects that you can put into a personal growth plan. I mean, you can put career, finance, relationships, your home life, your health, learning goals, emotional goals, spiritual goals. You can put items about your hobby, maybe nonprofits you want to start working with. There's no end to what you can put in a personal growth plan. And because of that, it becomes even more necessary to have a plan because there are so many things you can be doing. The odds on your following through are a lot less if you don't have a plan to follow.
yeah, and it's so important. We talk about this all the time. Most of us, a lot of us, just get up every day and float through the day going to work and this and that, whatever. And then at the end of the day, wonder what's going on. And what putting together a personal plan, I mean, plan means working on yourself. And most people out there don't do that enough. And it really takes, you mentioned a lot of different areas as far as, professional, maybe vacations, family, all this other kind of thing. But what you really need to do is write down a whole bunch of things that you may be interested in on paper, start organizing them, and start planning on doing that. I mean, last week we talked about setting goals and SMART goals and so on and so forth. And your personal growth plan is something that you are going to apply your SMART goals to, because you're going to take a look at this list, and then one by one, you're going to start ticking these things off. So, but the bottom line is, you should definitely be working on that. Everybody should be, because it's going to make your life mean a whole lot more to yourself, and you're going to feel really, really great doing that. And I also recommend, if you have a family and you have friends that you like to get together with and so on and so forth, work on that together. Ask them about their plans, because a big part of this, once you put this together, is accountability. And if you're just going to be accountable to yourself, that's one thing. But if you start sharing your aspirations and your plans with other people, then they're going to ask you about that when they see it, and that's going to make it a whole lot better.
Right. And including family and friends in this, aside from holding you accountable, they're a big part of your personal growth. Who are you spending time with? Are you missing out on time with your family? Do you have certain friends that you don't see as much as you'd like to? Certain friends maybe you see more often than you'd like to.
Yeah, I mean,
Fi-
I just had a situation this past weekend where I had a friend that came into town from Portland, Oregon, high school buddy of mine. His father unfortunately passed away. I mean, he lived a really nice life down in Florida a few months ago, and he emailed me a couple of weeks ago saying they were having a memorial service this past Saturday up here in Connecticut. So he went. A friend of mine went. That the three of us went to high school together. Which, by the way, we all started 50 years ago this year at Northwest Catholic High School. So that was something to talk about. But what we did is, the friend of mine that's up here and another friend that I saw last week, we don't see that often. We said, okay, let's plan right now and setting up a date to to go out to dinner with our spouses. And this weekend we already started sharing dates doing that. So one of the best things you can do is catch up with your old friends, because those really, I'd imagine, experiences for a lot of people out there, some of the most happy things you've done have to do with old friends that you have. So why not look them up and plan on talking to them, at least on the phone if they're nearby, maybe setting up a get together for lunch or dinner sometime. But that's a great thing to do.
Absolutely. Part of your plan should be, who do you want to spend time with? What do you want to be doing? Now, while you can include certain things about your job in here, and certainly your career goals belong in a personal growth plan, this is where you're defining what you want your life to be. And I know that sounds daunting to a lot of people, but when you sit down and actually put together a plan and figure out the steps that you'll take to get there, it makes it a lot less daunting. And it avoids a lot of, well, if only I had done such and such, or things should have been different. You're actually taking action to get to the life you want. We talked a while back about the book, The Science of Getting Rich. And one of the examples of visualization that Wallace Wattles used in that book was about a man who envisioned the house he wanted to live in. And then little by little started making changes to his home so that it matched the vision he had. Putting together a personal growth plan is pretty much the same thing. The first thing you want to do is put together a vision of what you want your life to be. Put together, to use a more corporate term, your personal mission statement. Who is it that you want to be? What is it you want to be doing? Figuring that out goes back to what we were talking about last week with setting goals. It's figuring out your why and what you want your life to look like. Then you're breaking that vision down into steps that you can actually follow. I mean, when we have coaching clients, one of the first things we do is we do an exercise where we tell them, okay, you've been in coaching for a year. Everything has gone fantastically. Everything's gone exactly the way you want. Visualize where you are. And we have them describe the office they're in, the house they're in, what they do with their days. And then the second exercise is to make that same description of where they are now. The steps that need to be taken to get from where they are to where they want to be become their plan.
Yeah, and using the SMART goal approach to that is a great way to do that. And one of the things that I would recommend doing is making several columns, and over one of them you can write down relationships, you can write down career, physical goals, self-improvement goals, education, and just start writing things down that you would like to do. And then if you start prioritizing them, then what you're going to do is have topics to work on, and you take those topics and you start developing SMART goals as to how you're going to achieve that. So we talked last week about physical goals. For instance, if you wanted to lose some weight, you would write down what you're going to be doing to lose weight. It could be something like coming home from work every day and taking a half an hour walk rather than watching television. It could be changing from soda to drinking water, a couple of things like that. But if you start writing down the goals by topic and then prioritizing things and then hitting them with the SMART goal technique, it's a great way to get started. And if you're doing that for the different areas of your life all at once, you're really going to be rounding yourself into one happy person, and you're going to also feel good because you're going to be achieving things.
Right. And just to clarify, we're saying things you're going to be doing, things that you want to be doing. Your plan should also include things you want to stop doing. Do you have bad habits you want to break? Do you just not want to be angry at people anymore? Do you want to watch less TV? There are things that you will stop doing in order to put in the things you want to do. No matter how detailed your plan is, there are certain limitations we all face. There are only 24 hours in a day. There are only 7 days in a week. So if you want to get everything that you want to do in, you may have to figure out some things that you don't care about doing that you've just done out of habit that you can get rid of.
Yeah, absolutely. You're starting with your emotional health should be number one, because if you're in a bad state of mind, you're not going to be able to do that much with the other parts of your life. So you make an excellent point there as far as that goes. And obviously, making your emotional health better means what I like to call the throwouts, throwing out a lot of things that you do that you shouldn't be doing, that you know if you stopped doing them, you would be feeling a whole lot better.
All right. And I can give an example, something that I actually do on a regular basis. A lot of people talk about the fact that you shouldn't immerse yourself in the news because there's all bad news and it's aggravating, it's upsetting. As much as I would love to be able to cut out watching news, one of my jobs is I do a radio show where we discuss the news. So I have to know what's going on. However, at least once a month, I take a period of time, usually Friday morning or sometimes, Thursday evening up to Monday evening, and I do not watch the news. I don't pay attention to it. I just ignore what's going on for that period of time. I still talk to friends, I still work, I still do things, but I don't watch the news. And I find by removing myself from it, I get less aggravated. My stress level goes down because, again, since I'm generally bombarded with it for my job, this gives me that time to reset my mind. And you can find things like this that if you stop doing them periodically, just for a little time, your mindset improves greatly.
Yeah, and if you make a concerted effort, knowing that you spend time in negativity land, and you make a concerted effort to start spending time in positivity land, what I am talking about is the fact that, as you said, most of the news is negative news. However, you and I both know, and all of you folks out there listening know, that if you want to go out and look for positive things that are going on in your life, in other people's lives, and start talking about that with your coworkers and your family and your friends, there is so much more good going on than there is negative things that are never going to get covered in the news. And if you go out there searching for that, acknowledging that in other people, encouraging people, complimenting them rather than criticizing them, that's something that you can work into a habit, turning your judgment around 180 degrees to complimenting people. It's really, really important that you work on that area and just realize that there's a whole lot more positivity out there than the news is ever going to cover. People are basically good. And if you can start developing that mindset, just being aware of that and working on it, magic is going to happen in your life. So that's one way to do that. Turn off the news for, a day like you're talking about, but also take out a list and start writing down people's names and things that are going on that are great that's happening out there. And you're going to say, hey, wow. And they're going to be a whole lot better and a whole lot more numerous than the headlines that you're getting updated on every day, every hour in the negative news.
Absolutely. And of course, this is just one example of a habit that you can stop. And that should be part of your plan. Once you have what you want, you've got your goals set, like we talked about last week. You've got everything written down. You've created a vision statement, personal mission statement for yourself that defines who you want to be. The next step in your plan should be breaking down actions. What is it that you're actually going to do to achieve these goals and get to that person you want to be? And these actions should be simple. They should be repetitive, because the more you repeat something, the more ingrained it becomes. And don't be discouraged if you don't keep to it immediately. It takes time for someone to develop a new habit, usually at least 21 days. So if you do something 21 days in a row, you become used to doing it. If you miss a few days doing something, start over, pick up where you left off, and keep going. The more times you keep going, the easier it will be to keep doing these actions. And these can be things like going for a walk every day. It could be cutting out carbs. It could be whatever action step you have determined will get you to the person you've defined in your personal growth plan.
Yeah, one of the things you can do is use modern technology. Say you're taking a day or a couple of days off of television and watching the news. YouTube is fantastic in that you can just type in search phrases. So if you write down on paper things that interest you and you type in search phrases on YouTube, you're going to have a whole lot of different videos that you can watch that will help you out as far as those things go. And I just switched from Direct TV to Roku TV, and so now I'm watching YouTube on my big screen television instead of just on my computer. And I found that I'm spending a whole lot more time watching YouTube than I ever do watching all of the other stuff, just because I like watching positive things out there or maybe fun things. I mean, I'm into old comedians and so on and so forth. So I'll go on there and watch Rodney Dangerfield just to get a laugh or some other things. But there's a whole lot of things that you can do out there, and there's a lot of technology that you can look up positive stuff in there without turning the news on. So if you want to develop yourself into like a daily happy hour or something like that, that's a great source. Just write down the topics that you're interested in and search them out on YouTube or on the internet, and you're going to find some really, really neat stuff.
Absolutely. There's a ton of content out there. And you can find the things that make you happy and put you in the right mindset. And it can be an inspirational video, it can be an old comedian, it can be old movies or a favorite movie that maybe you've seen it 100 times and you could watch it another 100. Could be music. There are apps like iHeartRadio app that bring you radio stations from all over the country. So I know where we are, I can't turn on the radio and hear classical music. I can't turn on the radio and hear jazz music because we don't have stations in this area that play them. I can launch those apps. I can listen to classical music out of New York City. I can listen to a jazz channel out of San Francisco. I can listen to a comedy channel out of Ohio. Whatever I want to hear, I can turn on.
Yeah, you can also go just to your internet browser and sign up for a Pandora account and classify things that
Right.
way. Do that kind of thing. I mean, I've had Pandora for several years, and one of the nice things about that is you can get a channel. My wife loves Stevie Wonder, so we signed up for the Stevie Wonder channel. But you can throw in all other different types of artists that you like. So basically, our Stevie Wonder channel now has about 25 or 30 different artists in there, where we're getting the whole mishmash of things that we've been listening to for 30 or 40 years. And sometimes we don't even hear Stevie Wonder, but I might get Chicago or the Beatles or Ray Charles, a whole bunch of different things. So there's a lot of ways that you can accomplish that just by going on there for Pandora, or like you're talking about, getting your own apps and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. There are tons of those. iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, I specify those two because they also carry Success Showcase. You can listen to podcasts there.
Pitch, pitch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I
But
mean,
the
another
key,
fantastic tool that's very easy for you to do every day is a gratitude journal. Just do it before you go to bed at night or first thing in the morning. Write down what you're grateful for, the great things that have happened to you during the day or yesterday, and just read that. I do mine in a spreadsheet, and all I do is I number the days of the year down the left hand column. So you have 365 days. And one of the cool things about that is if you do that for a while, mine goes back to 2014. I can actually go back and see what's going on the same day that I'm writing about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years ago. And it's really, really cool to do that and reminisce. So keep a gratitude journal, read it. It's a great, great way to keep yourself positive and realize all the great things that are going on in your life.
and with all of these apps and journals we're talking about, what it comes down to is that once you've determined what it is you really want, who it is you want to be, you need to round up the tools that are going to get you there. And they can be gratitude journals, they can be regular journals where you're just keeping track of what goes on in your life, exploring your own thoughts. They can be apps like radio apps, productivity apps, whatever's going to get you to where you want to be. And of course, one of those tools can be getting a personal coach. Athletes use coaches, actors use coaches. People are used to hearing about it in their careers, but for personal growth, coaching is also useful. And one of the things that the coach does is hold you responsible, hold you accountable, and keeps you on track. Now, for those of you that don't feel you want to use a coach, you can do the same thing by putting together a group of friends who are all doing this together. They're all working on their own personal growth plans and holding each other accountable like a personal board of directors.
Yeah, you just hit my next point that I'd written down. It's the mastermind principle, and the bottom line is it's great for personal growth. It's also great for your business because most businesses don't have boards of directors. But if you get a couple of other people that you know who own businesses and get together periodically to become each other's board of directors, that helps out too. But a mastermind situation where you're sharing personal growth planning and holding each other accountable that way and coming up with new ideas is a fantastic way to do things. And obviously a personal coach is great, but the power of many, to me, as far as I'm concerned, is even greater. So if you have 4 or 5 people that you're getting together with on a regular basis to work on these things, it's just awesome.
Absolutely. When you're working with a group, you all hold each other accountable. You're a lot more likely to follow through. In fact, that's actually the theory that started Weight Watchers. There were loads of diet plans before Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers became so popular and so effective, not because the diet was so great, but because they came together for meetings once a week and you had a support system. You had people that were holding you accountable, people who were cheering you on. And that's also important. When you're working with a group of people on this, you're not there to put each other down. You're there to support each other and to be cheerleaders for each other. When something happens, when you meet a goal, when you get closer to a goal, you want that encouragement. And that's something that's very important. Weight Watchers took that and they created their entire business around that group that encourages you. And it worked very successfully. It works for that, it works for your personal growth plan.
It's also really important to congratulate yourself and celebrate your own accomplishments too. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and you're not being selfish by doing that. It's very, very important. And the bottom line is you'll know whether it's coming from your heart or whether you're just doing it for your own arrogance. And most of the time, it's just a wonderful feeling. But you got to celebrate your accomplishments. Go to the mirror and smile and say, wow, this is really, really cool. And if you're doing it with other people, that's a fantastic way to do that too. Next time you go to a networking meeting or starting something up, turn around and give everybody five next to you and see how everything starts out on a positive note. It's a lot of fun. And the bottom line is you have to have fun.
All right. And that's another important part, is that you should look at this as a journey, and you should reward yourself as you make progress. So as you hit milestones in your goals, and remember, we talked about goals being measurable last week, set up these milestones along the way and put together rewards for yourself. Say, if you get to a certain point, you'll go to dinner at your favorite restaurant. If there's a movie you've been wanting to see, if you get to this point, you get to go to the movie. If there's something you've been wanting to buy yourself, make that a reward and work towards it. It helps you keep up your motivation, and you need to reward yourself. It is impossible to keep going when everything is status quo. You need to have something to look forward to, and these rewards can help you do that. So we've talked a lot about putting this plan together. The important part is putting it down, writing it down. You should have all of this on paper or on your computer, somewhere where it's tangible, because that moves it from something you're thinking about to something you're doing. And you need to follow through on a regular basis. Every day, take another step towards these goals. It's also important, as we talked about last week with goals, to break these things down. If you want to improve yourself by reading more, saying you're going to read 50 books in a year may sound very intimidating. When you break it down to one book a week, it's a lot less intimidating. So make your goals as simple as possible and make them easy to follow through on. And as you put all of this down, you put your goals down, the steps to get to those goals, the rewards for those goals, and your personal mission statement that describes where you are going to end up. This becomes an actual plan. And once you do that and you start following through on that, you will become the person you want to be. Now we're just about hitting our time. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for our listeners this week?
Well, first of all, find out your purpose and your why. Work on that first, your mission, and then apply that to the different areas of your life, your personal life, your professional life, self improvement. List the areas that you want to improve in, come up with your SMART goals, do it, and celebrate it when you achieve it. But get into action, starting with your purpose and your why, and just logically go through things, and you're going to have a wonderful plan for personal growth.
Absolutely. I think the big takeaways for me, one is to make your plan complete. Include your personal life, your finances, your career. Anything that you want to improve should go into this plan. Make it as complete and comprehensive as possible, because you'll find that each section you're working on affects the other sections. So you want to make this complete. And the other big takeaway is it's not just about doing things, it's also about the things you stop doing. So be sure to include those in your plan as well. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us at the Apple Podcasts app, the iTunes Store, iHeartRadio app, Spotify, and wherever you find your podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. See you then.